Rhythmology is a concept that came to us about 4 years ago when we completed the show Hands. Hands was our last student-created production, and then every 4 years we do another student-created piece, and so really it came down to what do we want to do? And my thought process was, we need to up the ante. It needs to be something that really says we are the performing arts magnet. So I went and talked to the then band director at the time, Mark Miller, and we talked about, wouldn't it be cool if we did this sort of Stomp type project? And in the process of doing that, of course, Mr. Miller moved on to another school. Mr. Austin started working here, and Austin and I started talking about it, and it came down to, you know what else might be cool is let's throw in a little bit of like some Blue Man Group, or maybe some Blast, or maybe some Barrage. We can get some string players involved in there. And so it kind of developed into this thing that was a little bit more than what we originally intended, but still this very cool, organic process. It grew as we did it. We never had, most shows we have a calendar down day one, and we say we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And it walks you through the process, and everybody can follow that schedule, and they know when they need to be there, and they know when everything's going to be ready, and you pretty much have your schedule in place. And this one didn't work that way. It was we kind of had an idea of where we wanted to go and by when we wanted to have things done, but really it was about what do we need? What did we come up with for an idea? And those first, we spent 2 days just brainstorming for ideas. And once we had the ideas in place, it was, okay, now we can take that and figure out how long we need to practice that.
Well, at first it was like fun and a little stressful, because like you had to find new ideas to put to the show, and some people just couldn't come up with just stuff to add, and then yeah, it started coming together, and then it started getting more and more fun as the show went by.
It's exciting at first, but it ends, it's really boring. Because the first 3 months is like, oh, these are cool new ideas, but then the first month is like, oh, the new ideas, and then the second and third month you're just running them over and over and over and over and over again.
It was fun at the beginning, and then it started getting frustrated because it looked like we weren't going to be able to make it by the time we presented it, but it came along well, and people liked it.
It was hard mentally, because it took a lot of my time, at least. I mean, there's a lot of things I used to do that I couldn't really do because I had to be here. But after you get started, you just forget about it, like how much time it takes away. You just get used to it, and you get used to being everyone around you.
At the end, it was worth it. It was worth being here after school every other day or every day of the week, practicing for hours and stuff like that, and weekends. It was worth it. I loved it.
Man, it was tiring, but it was also lots of fun, and I had to give up my basketball for it, but I would not take it back. It was so awesome.
Working on a show, this is probably a good point to mention this, working on a show for 3 months is crazy. I mean, in the professional world, that's what happens, is shows take a lot of time to get these things ready. But on a high school level, it's a challenge. And it's amazing, and a very strong comment for all the kids involved in this show that they stuck with it for 3 months. Because commitment level with high school students tends to kind of come and go. But this group stayed with it for 3 months. And that was impressive. But it was 3 months of, I'm sure there were days that I probably wasn't the happiest person on the planet because, it's stress. That's just what happens when you're trying to juggle the monster that is this show and wrangle it together, because the sky literally was the limit. Anything could have happened. And the number of ideas we threw out was probably twice as much as what we actually used, and that was just trying to filter things down.
My favorite part of Rhythmology was like a specific scene in the show would be the Bulletin remix, because it's all like choreographed and everybody's like doing the same thing.
The Homeroom Bulletin remix was an idea that came about in an effort to include our music technology students in this, which was, let's take something that students are used to hearing a bulletin. You hear that at pretty much any school, and trying to keep it universal, but also adding our own little South High flair onto it, because we had the advantage of the person who reads the announcements was readily available for this show, and the students, I enjoy making fun of myself as much as the next person, so we basically handed that over to the music technology students. Mr. Austin worked with them to come up with this remix that we used during the show, and then really it was just a matter of working with students to come up with what is this sort of choreographed element, because we're trying to make sure that everything is slightly different. And so in this case we said, well, let's see if we can come up with something where the sound is provided and then the students actually create a piece of movement on stage to go with that. So they kind of created these, we went through a couple different variations, and maybe we do some claps, maybe we do some rhythmic stomping, maybe we do some visual elements like arm waves, and then it just kind of developed into this, okay, let's build it, starting so that there's these motions and these actions and sounds and movements that start, get to a midpoint, and then essentially it reverses, and everything goes back in reverse order to come back to the initial state as if nothing had happened at all.
Geography scene was definitely my favorite, and if you actually watch the videos during the geography scene, you can tell, because I always forgot to take out the slide after Allison talked, because I started paying attention to them playing, and I messed up a little bit.
The geography scene was one that was added later on in the game. We had initially discussed in the brainstorming the ideas of different classes that we could have, and we had talked about maybe doing a science class, like a lab environment. We had a typing class idea where we were using keyboards to make sounds that you would have with the keys clicking or slamming the keyboards down, and we just ended up deciding that they were too similar to other ideas. The typing was developing into something very similar to the library scene, and we kind of said, you know what, let's move away from some of those. But we did come back to geography, and that really had to do with Joey, because Joey Galizia is really knows his world sounds, and so this guy's traveled everywhere. He's done everything with these rhythms, and he was able to come back. We said, let's definitely use this expertise in the show if he's willing to give it, which he was. He was more than willing, and he worked with the kids to kind of come up with these, let's go around to different parts of the world, like we were in a geography class, and listen to the sounds and the rhythms that we have from there. So we were able to use some of our instruments that we had here. He was able to provide some instruments, and then the students learned the rhythms, and this was really one of the coolest scenes.
Another one of my favorite things, because I liked it all, was the color guard scene, because this is my first year doing flags, and I really liked the flag part. So, yeah.
And the drumline tryouts, because I enjoy playing the drums.
The drumline color guard tryout scene really was a chance to show off the talents of the percussionists that we had, because we had some extremely talented students in this show, and so we really wanted to just give them a chance, first of all on the drumline side, to see some of that. This was one of those elements we kind of took from Blast in the stick work, being able to throw sticks up in the air, bounce sticks off the floor at one point, and it was really just about giving them a chance to kind of show what they were made of. And then at the same time, because we had quite a few students in the show that were members of the color guard, and Miss Brown was working with us, she was able to take those students aside, come up with a very cool routine that used the glow sticks, which was pretty awesome. And the percussionists really worked on developing these on their own. They just spent a lot of time. There was a sit down with Mr. Austin, and they kind of came up with some initial ideas, and then really it just came down to them trying different things and running them over and over and over. I think they put in probably around 60 to 80 hours just working on this to make it what it was. And of course we added the rack, the flying rack, which was really, initially it just rolled on stage, and then we kind of got this, can we actually fly this? And Mr. Billings really worked on that, and we got it. We got that thing to fly in and out, which was a very cool effect by the time all was said and done.
The library scene, probably, because it's probably the first time you see all of us together, besides the beginning, and because it has a piece of us in it, since we all have our own little special books. I thought that was really cool.
The library scene actually came about from the sessions with Michael Fitzsimmons, one of our other guest artists. Michael brought in these drums, which were essentially a wooden frame with packing tape wrapped around them, and they were used to sort of create the initial, let's get the group working together, let's get them thinking about rhythms and how the rhythms can add into one another. And so we had that happen. That was probably the third and fourth rehearsals were our workshops with Michael, which were immensely successful. We actually took a lot of the lessons that we got from that and we developed them as we went into sort of a warm-up activity that we did every day. And then we just kind of kept growing with that, and we said, you know, let's just use this. What if we took these drums? What if we built our own, which we did? Then we kind of put this all together, and we went with this concept of progressing through 3 sections. And how do we do that? And we used Trisha sort of became this central figure of her agitation about this sound moving through the scene, and then becoming, you know, these elements with the soloists trying to really upset her. It was actually the first scene done. The library was the first scene that we actually had blocked and ready to go, and that happened within the first week or so. It was actually the first scene done. The library was the first scene that we actually had blocked and ready to go, and that happened within the first week or so.
My favorite part of Rhythmology was the opening, because I got to appear after all the music started with the bongos. It was so cool.
The concept really just stemmed from the alarm clock, which was a sound that I personally hate, and I thought if we can actually make music using an alarm clock, which is a sound pretty much universally despised, we can come up with just about anything. So it was one of the initial ideas, the concept of having a student waking up in the bed to an alarm clock and then sort of building in the elements on top of that, actually kind of act like a preview of things to come for the rest of the show. So you get to see a little bit of the PVC instruments, you get to see the string players, you get to see the percussion, and you get to see some of the actors kind of incorporating elements into there. That was one of the first ideas we had, and it was actually one of the last ideas to be put together. It and the close were the 2 final pieces that we really rehearsed, and they grew completely out of students adding elements to it. The concept was there of the alarm clock, but then the sounds were added and the rhythms on top of what already existed. What we found was that although we started with sort of one inspirational idea, that being the Stomp performance, we didn't want everything to be Stomp because we didn't want to just be Stomp. We didn't just want to be Blue Man Group. We didn't want to just be Blast. We didn't just want to be Barrage. We didn't want to be doing our impression of those things. We wanted it to be something else. And that's kind of where it, in a very good way, veered off from the original idea and became its own entity.
Rhythmology, shot 7, take 1.
1, 2, ready, go.
On the top there, the whole thing.
That's the problem. Just keep doing what you're doing.
All right towards the camera, and then right as you get here, just do the double arms up. Don't run into it.
Good thing about this, the show's over. Christmas!
You see a shot of the boom operator. Yeah, we can go again.
That's fine.
That. To edit.
What have you guys enjoyed most about working on this project?
Making noise.
Yeah. Like blowing straws.
Bon appetit.
I gotta say the whole idea of Rhythmology was pretty cool. Like, I never thought I'd ever be in a production where it was like the drama kids, the band kids, and the orchestra kids all together in this one giant, massive, musical, dancey, crazy thing. It's awesome.
My favorite part of Rhythmology was probably getting to know all the people in the cast, because a lot of these people I wouldn't have met without being in this show, because I don't run into them like the band people, or the orchestra people. I wouldn't run into them on an everyday basis.
Going on tour was fun. It's amazing, like what little kids' reaction is to it. Cause the elementary kids loved us; they thought we were gods, and then the middle school kids, you got a really cool vibe from it. Them being middle schools, to me, it's kind of like the hardest people to convince, because they're still like, oh, I don't really care about this. It's what I want to do. But even though they don't show it, you could tell that they're really liking it. It's awesome.
I love how kids look at you as a role model sometimes when you go and perform something. They're like, oh, cool. You know, I wish when I'm in high school I can do something like that or something like that. So, you know, I liked it. It was fun.
Probably building the set was my favorite part of the show because, you know, that's what I do here. It's interesting to me. So overall, that was my favorite part.
I don't know, I guess the whole show, because we got to meet a lot of cool band people and a lot of random other people. So it was fun, and I got to work with Jake and Jared, who is my love. But yeah, it was a good show. I liked it.
At the end, it was worth it. It was worth being here after school every other day or every day of the week, you know, practicing for hours and stuff like that, and weekends. You know, it was worth it. I loved it.
Because it's something that's never been done before. Like, you've seen it, like, little versions of it, but no high school, at least, has brought it all together and made it actually really cool.
I really liked like pretty much everything. It's cool. It's different. Something I've never done before, and yeah, new experience.
Rhythmology is the best, and I wish we could do it longer.
I wish we could have extended it a lot longer because it was a lot of fun to do.
I wish we could have done more than 3 shows.
I wish this show wasn't over. I wish we could continue to do it, and I think we should continue to do it. We should do it again. We should, in like a couple weeks, we should be like, oh my God, we're coming back.
I wish we could have ran this thing for a month. I wish we could have. And the trouble with working in a high school environment is there's always that next thing coming. And I mean, this has to be gone in a day. And that's always the bittersweetness at the end of a show is you spend 3 months working on it, and within a week you perform it and it's gone. And it's sad, but that's high school theater.